Good morning. In case of today's session, we are going to analyze the second question of logical reasoning which appeared on CSAT 2011 paper and see what we can learn from it. There's a certain amount of background contextual knowledge and skills which are required to handle this particular question in the perfectly right manner. This question has a lot of tricky language inside it, so you have to take care that you can wade through this tricky language and not get confused by it. Moreover, you also have to know the difference between sound logic and valid logic and have information about them and an understanding of sound logic and valid logic on which logical reasoning questions are based. Plus, things get even more complicated in this question because it is also a factual negation question. You must have seen factual negation questions in case of comprehension or reading comprehension questions which you may have attempted. That is going to help you here. To benefit more from this particular question, please pause the video at this particular stage, attempt this question in an honest manner all by yourself, then watch the solution for this particular question and compare how you handle this question as compared to whatever is the right way of doing it. I hope you have already tried to solve this particular question yourself. I will teach you the concepts slowly so that you can understand them in a better manner. All questions of logical reasoning are based upon a certain number of statements or premises or sentences of information. If I look at this particular statement which says all dogs have four legs, this is a statement which is factually correct. It is true. Yes, all dogs have four legs. But if I look at the second statement which says all dogs are cats, then this particular statement or this particular premise is factually incorrect. Dogs and cats are two different kinds of animals, and no dog is a cat and no cat is a dog. As a result, if I look at this particular second statement, then this is factually wrong or it is false. On the other hand, the first statement is factually correct and it is true. Questions on logical reasoning are based upon two different kinds of logic. So let's learn the first type. The first type of logic is called as valid logic, and the arguments which are there, they are called as valid arguments. In case of valid logic, a valid argument is one in which the conclusion follows logically from the statements or premises, which means that the conclusion is based upon the statements or premises. But the premises may be true or they may be false, so it really does not matter whether the premises are true or false. You still can conclude based upon them. This kind of a logic is tested in case of questions of logical consistency and syllogism questions. A lot of you who've already done your preparation for CSAT previously or have done some kind of a preparation for the reasoning part of the exam, they would be familiar with syllogism questions. And some of you may even have done logical consistency, although less number of students actually get exposed to logical consistency if they're doing self-preparation. On the other hand, we have a second kind of logic which is tested, which is called as sound logic. It has got sound arguments inside it. And this kind of a logic is even stronger. It is not only valid, which means it not only has conclusions based upon premises or statements, but its premises are actually true in reality, which guarantees that the conclusion is factually true. So the conclusion of sound logic is factually true. And sound logic arguments would use only statements of the first type, which are factually correct, which are true statements. It will not use statements of the second type. These questions are the ones in which the statement or premise have to be true. As a result, the words true or false in the language of the questions is an indication that the question is based upon sound logic. So, if I look at the question here, and I go in for reading the directions carefully and understanding them, then this particular question uses the words true and false inside it, which means it is based upon sound logic, the second kind of logic. And the instructions say of these four statements, two cannot both be true, but both can be false, which means that the only answer which is acceptable here is where the answer has two statements where both the statements are false. As a result, we are looking for a pair of sentences in a particular answer in which both the statements are false. This kind of an answer will give us marks and would be the correct answer. On the other hand, if a particular answer choice has both statements which are true, then that would be a wrong answer and there's something which is not mentioned, and that is if one statement is true and the other one is false, then even this will be constructed as a wrong answer. The only answer which is acceptable is an answer where both the statements are false. So now if I examine this particular question, then remember we're looking for an answer where both the statements are false. And we are not looking for an answer where both the statements are true or one is true and the other one is false. So let's examine the statements now. The first statement says all trains are run by diesel engine, but you know that trains are run by diesel engine. They are also run by electricity. They can also be run by a coal engine. As a result, this first statement which says all trains are run by diesel engine is a false statement. Let's check second statement. It says some trains are run by diesel engine. Yes, I agree. Some trains are run by diesel engine. Others are run by electricity or by a coal engine. As a result, the second statement is factually correct, true. Third statement says no train is run by diesel engine. This is factually incorrect because there are a lot of trains which are run by diesel engine. As a result, the third statement is false. The fourth statement says some trains are not run by diesel engine. I agree. Some trains are not run by diesel engine. They may be run by electricity or by coal. As a result, the fourth statement is factually true. Now I look at my answer choices, and first answer choice says 1 and 2. Now 1 is false and the second statement is true. As a result, 1 and 2 are false and true respectively. 1 is false and 2 is true. If I look at 2 and 3 combination, then statement 2 is true and statement 3 is false. As a result, 2 and 3 are true and false respectively. Let's look at option C. It says 1 and 3. We know that statement 1 is false and statement 3 is also false. As a result, 1 and 3, both of them are false. Option D says 1 and 4. 1 is false and option 4 is true. As a result, 1 and 4 are false and true respectively. Remember, the right answer would be the one where both the statements are false, and that is a requirement which is being met only by option C. So this is the correct answer. This is the answer that we need to choose. You can pause the video at this particular stage and look at this whole explanation and then move on ahead. Now, if you still have any questions or you need any kind of help with CSAT preparation or with UPSC, then please feel free to send us a WhatsApp message on 82870 75796, and the Ivy League team is here to help you with your problems. If you're interested in knowing more about our programs to help you score higher in the UPSC exam, then you can WhatsApp your name to 82870 75796, and we will send you our brochure and arrange your discussion with our senior and expert teachers. We will also invite you to the CSAT Foundation Course 2027, which is commencing on 28th of July 2026. Thank you.